Seems legit.
Hey Legitimates! Today we are doing a free pattern that I made up on the spot. This is waterproof canvas, and I have made a drawstring bag for my kid to put all his wet clothes in because he starts swimming practice at school next week. So I needed something, and so I thought we would make it up together in a video because that's fun. So I have used this very cool Disney waterproof canvas from Zen. We're also doing French seams to be fancy, and this cord I got from the reject shop because I didn't want to have to drive to Spotlight. And the only other thing we're going to need is a sewing machine, and I used this. This is a drawstring threader, technically. It's like a fancy version of a bodkin. It's all quite flexible. It's all plastic, but flexible plastic. Super quick and handy for threading things like this. So the link for all this stuff is in the description, and I tell you all the measurements as we go. So let's get started. Alright, so here's the pieces. I went and got some $2 rainbow cord from the reject shop. You can get this anywhere, but the reject shop was closest to me. Now, these panels are 14 by 16 inches. So 14 inches wide, 16 inches tall, and I'm going with this awesome Disney waterproof canvas that I got from Zen. So we need 2 pieces of those, and then these are 2.5 wide and 14 inches long. So, because it's waterproof canvas, I'm not lining it. This is just going to be a nice, quick, simple little bag. So what I want to do is I'm going to eyeball it, and I'm just going to fold over about 3/8 of an inch. And then I'm just going to top stitch that down on all the ends of both the sides. So this is just so we have no raw edge right at the edge there. Now these can probably be thinner because this is thinner, but I can trim it down later if I need to. Depending on what cord you're using, you may want something thicker. So again, I'm just eyeballing it, and I'm doing about 3/8 of an inch. You can measure it if you want to. I'm not one to judge you if you do or do not wish to do that. So now I'm going to separate all of these because that was the easiest way to do it. And then you only have one lot of tails to trim. So then I'm going to fold these in half, like so, and I'm just going to stitch on the very, very edge. This is just going to help everything hold in place while I do everything else. I'm going to backstitch out of habit, but as this is only a temporary hold, you don't have to. But it is a nice habit to be in the habit of backstitching. Right, I'm going to line up this end, hold it flat, making sure that nothing is pulling or being naughty, because it can happen. Certain fabrics will stretch and then the ends won't line up. This seems pretty good though, it's nice and firm. So, now we have the 2 top bits. Let's move on to our body. Now I'm going to do what's called a French seam because I can, basically. So we're going to put them wrong sides together. Now this is if you don't have an overlocker, or if you're like me and you just want to really reinforce that seam. So I'm going to start by pinning the corners. Now I cut this with scissors and not a rotary cutter because my table was too messy and I didn't want to clean it, if we're going to be totally honest. Brutally honest, sometimes I don't want to have to clean off my table. It is a process. I am getting through all the things that are on there, and I refuse to move them off until they're actually done. So as you can see, this edge is not dead straight, and that's okay. Don't feel bad if it's not dead straight. This is a very simple moment. It's not going to matter as much as you think it will. We can just trim it down later anyway. So, I'm on a 2.5 stitch length. I don't plan on changing, just so you're all aware. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch down, across, and up the 3 sides, leaving the top open because it is a bag. And I'm going to do a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And while I didn't have to clip it, it sometimes does make it a bit easier. I can concentrate on the 1/4 inch and less on the fact that the layers aren't together. But this could be made without clips if you want to challenge yourself. And backstitch. We're always going to backstitch. I can't help myself. It's also good. You definitely want to do it here so that everything stays intact. So now that we've done that, I'm going to grab some half-decent scissors, not your paper cutting ones, and I'm going to cut off just half of the seam allowance here. This is also going to straighten up any wonky edges so that everything's the same size. I'm also going to cut at a 45-degree angle on that corner. I know I normally do more, but it's a tiny seam allowance and that much will be fine. And you all might be going, oh no, the seam's on the outside. You just gotta bear with me. I promise there's a plan. This is how they make clothing before overlockers were a thing. Now this fabric, because it doesn't fray, I could have just kept the raw edges on the inside and be done with it. But I want to be a bit fancy. It's a free pattern. We want fancy. So now we're going to turn it inside out. Might get my turning stick for this. Literally why I bought one. And it will push the corners out. You want to get the corners, and then I'm just going to run that along that seam there. Like so. And up. And voila. So now it is inside out completely. And so now we're going to stitch a 1/4 inch from the edge. Now you're going to want to roll this, and if you want to, you can go along and clip it again just to kind of hold it there. I feel like I'll just roll and clip as I go. So we're going to do a 1/4 inch seam allowance, stitch and back stitch. You always want to stop with the needle down. And then I'm going to just come along here. This is really nice waterproof canvas. It stays where it's told. I like that. Pivot. Make sure we're on the bottom seam. So what this is doing is it's encasing the raw edges. Also why we chopped off the excess so it won't poke out between these layers. Oop, something just fell off from the vibrations. It happens, it's fine. Okay. Let's turn it back out the right way. So this is what we get. You just get like this cute little seam. Now I was going to turn this into a backpack, but my kid probably won't use it as a backpack. He's just going to throw it back into his school bag. It's just for his swimming clothes. They're doing a week of swimming lessons at school next week, and I want him to be able to have something to put all his wet clothes in. These are not poking as well as I'd hoped, in which case you can just roll them and poke the last little bit. There we go, that's better, just to look pretty. Right, now for our little drawstring at the top. See, but it is super cute. It still looks nice from the outside. It just now also looks nice from the inside. Again, you can probably, like, there is a little bit of fraying happening now that I'm manhandling it so much. So it is probably an idea to do that. So now I'm going to grab a ruler, and just on the inside, I'm going to draw a line that is 1 inch up. I think we'll do it. Now I'm going to use the short end because this is just going to be easier. Move the bag around. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold our seam up so that we're not going to have that much seam showing. We don't want any raw edges. You also need the fabric to sit straight, otherwise your line will look crooked. And it's easier to do lots of small sections like this. And again, you probably could have put this on first. I didn't because, you know, I've never made this before and we're winging it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fold it halfway in and then to the line. So we're just going to have this little seam. I am also going to add clips to it so it stays where it's told. And the reason we need to have this little lip, we're also going to shove this inside it in a minute, but I'm putting clips on it so it stays put while I fold it. You could have also done a line at 1/2 inch, taken it up to that, and then folded it a second time. It's the same thing. 1 line, 2 folds, we get to the same point. So just something to think about. I am going to fold the whole lot and then I'm going to add in my little channel. I have never made this before. It is just my assumption that it's going to work. It's a fair assumption. This is how my brain creates most patterns. I'm giving this away for free because it's 4 pieces and, you know, like 6 seams or something. It's not much to go on. Probably don't need a written pattern for this. But by watching the video, you are still supporting me, so I'm happy either way. If this had lots of fancy pockets and shapes and stuff, I would definitely write it as a pattern. But again, my kid doesn't need all the fancy stuff. He wouldn't pay attention to it. Okay. So the thickest part of the seams is at those side seams, but that's okay. You could actually cut it as one whole piece and just have a single seam if you wanted to. So here's what the bag looks like. And what we want is we want this in the top. That actually might be too long now. I think it's a bit too long. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually just going to chop off the end. And then tuck it in. And I'm going to repeat that to both sides. So that bottom seam was just to hold it in place in the first place. So just do it again. Make sure it's long enough this time, or short enough. I want it a little bit shorter than the whole thing. So I would probably cut off 1 inch. I'd make these 13 inches long, just to be safe. Alright. Stitch along this edge. And then if you want to, you can reseal that edge shut, but I'm probably going to be okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to shove it under this lip. So I'm going to take off the clip, shove this in, and then clip it back down. Shove it in, clip it back down. So now I'm hiding all the raw edges. Now this has got quite a nice crease in it. Depending on what kind of waterproof canvas you're using, the clips might be super helpful. But this is pretty much staying where it's told, which is nice. Right, under like so. And then we're going to do the same to this one. So I do need to chop it down a bit. And then I need to open up this edge, which if you just pull it, you should get a few stitches started. And then you can just take your sew all and pull them out, or you can use your snips and cut them, whatever suits your style better. You can use a quick unpick if you have one. I don't like them. I put way too many holes in way too many pieces of clothing over the years, so I just don't bother. Was I using it wrong? Probably. Do I wish to start using one now? Absolutely not. Between a sew all and my snips, we are good. Right. Tuck under the raw edge. Then we're going to check it. Make sure it's right. A little bit more. And then I'm just going to top stitch that over so it stays where it's told. Like that. Trim off the tails so they're not annoying us. And again, if you want to, you can seal that back up. But I'm okay. So again, I'm going to come here. I'm going to, look, you can take off all the clips. And for them, like, it will come undone a little bit, but it's got a decent enough kink in it that you can see where it goes. So it'll be fine. And the reason I didn't put this on first is because you absolutely do not want to catch this in the side seams. Won't go down well. One more clip here at this thick part. Excellent. So the first stitch we're going to do is right next to that edge line, right here. We're going to do a second stitch so that the lip part sits upwards. I also forgot to mention, but I could have totally put my child's name on the bag. Not that I think anyone's going to steal it. It's a one-of-a-kind thing. It's not like it'll look like everybody else's. I mean, unless there's another sewist in Townsville that just happened to have already bought this. The chances are fairly slim though, guys. And I don't like to put big names on stuff. Weirds me out. Now, I have a bit of a bird's nest. Can you see that? Doesn't look pretty. Now, while it's not affecting anything and I could leave it, we're totally not going to. So I use my sew-all and I just unthread it. It's usually between a bunch of stitches. So if you pull on the bit gently, you can usually lift it out without issue. So you can already see I've taken out half of it and it doesn't look as messy anymore. You can also trim it as you go. It is easier to maneuver when it's short and not long. That one is stuck on both sides, never fun. Trim it down, all the way down. Much less bird's nest. It still does have a little bit. Oh, that bit came out. There we go. Look at that. Heaps better. So now the last thing I want to do is bring this up like this, and see, we'll just still have enough channel that'll fit in there comfortably without any dramas, theoretically. So the easy way to stitch this is going to be to turn it inside out. We don't need to do it perfectly. We just need to be able to get this part out. And so then I'm going to fold this up onto it and top stitch it down. So again, we've got everything looking spiffy. Oh, I don't have any bobbin thread, do I? Right, hold on. We have a full bobbin now, so yay. I've also been thinking about, I have a thread looper, and I've just been thinking about where I think it is. The answer is I don't actually know. You'll also notice I didn't backstitch then. That is because we're going to go all the way around, so you don't need to. I'm just holding this in place with my fingers as I go around. It's going to be pretty and functional, which is what I like, and no overlocker required for those that don't have one, and no lining, so it's cheaper to make. Very cool little add-on present if you're thinking of something for Christmas already, or if you haven't got enough things. backstitch when we go back to the start. Also, if you only push your reverse button halfway on these machines, it will just stitch in the same spot instead of going all the way backwards. I don't know if you know that. But there you go. So now see how that sits up and is pretty? So now all I need to do is get this through. Now, I like to go like this, have some extra, and that's how long I want both the strings. So I'm going to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use my thread zapper to cut it. Right? Heat it up. And then slowly push through it. And the reason we're using this is because it melted the end. I don't know if that's zooming for you. Therefore, it's not going to fray. Super clever, right? Thread zappers are amazing. Because this is polyester, I didn't get a cotton one. We're going with a rainbow look, and then I'm just going to push on, push the button, and it should tear through it all. Like that. And now I don't need to worry about it fraying. If you don't have a thread zapper, cut it and then melt it with a cigarette lighter. Also an option. Try and get really close to the base of the cigarette lighter though, otherwise you're going to get discoloration on the end. Now, the best way to do this is my thread puller. So I am going to press pause again to see if I can find it. I bought one specifically for all these things. It is amazing. It was like under $10. Epic. Let me find it. After totally trashing my room, I found it. This is what it looks like. And it's bendy. So it's got like a thicker end, and then this end's got space to thread stuff through. So we're going to thread both of these through the big hole. And then just have a little bit extra. And then you can just go backwards or forwards. You're going to push it through first. And through she goes. Look at that. Beautiful. So now we undo that and we're going to go into this side. Here's the other end. So we're going to pick one of them and thread it through to here. Like that. And then I'm going to pull gently. This one and this one are joined. So we're going to put a knot in those two so that we know what's going on. And so then this one should be by itself. So now I need to thread through that second hole again, but in the opposite direction. And put this side in. And look how much easier this thing makes it. The $10, I did go and check the price. The $10, and they're called drawstring threader. If anybody wants one, amazing. And so then we just put another knot. Now I didn't want a lot of hangover because that felt excessive. And then you just pull. Now I did think that this might happen. It might be a little bit too big to gather easily. There's too much thickness, but I mean it does go up, and he's not going to ever do it up more than that anyway. It's also because this is a stiffer fabric, so if you wanted to make it less, you could make this thickness here less basically, but we can still pull it and it does still draw up. Drawstring back. Super easy and so cute with the Disney. I will put a link in the description to this fabric if you want to go get some of your own, and I will troll the Spotlight website for this bad boy. And this is just pretty cord that you can use from anywhere, but I still think that's cute. So we just probably the more I do it, the more it's going to gather. But it doesn't do too bad. Like, you can just soften it up. Believe it or not, this will help. See, that's already getting easier. It's just because it's new. It's It's not so much new car smell as new gather problems. But again, soften it up. I'm doing this in a small version. So I'm doing like circles just to loosen up that edge. There you go, guys. Super cute. Alright, I'll speak to you next time. Bye.